We're pleased to welcome Wimby Ambassador Ethel Pang. Now, Ethel, you're one of around 20 volunteers in this initiative. Why do you decide to take part?
Right. So I've actually been volunteering with NTIA for a while already. So this is NMP NTIA Ong. And I've kind of entered the local social impact scene a couple of years back. One of the things that cropped up in one of the WhatsApp messages that I'm in is this initiative that a couple of members in the community were precipitating. And since Red Hill Close is really close by to my place of residence, it's just like 10 minutes walk away. And I frequent the neighborhood really regularly. I thought that is something I could lend my weight behind, especially as a young person interested in boosting the community efforts during this COVID situation and the circuit breaker period, and also as a resident, being a point of contact on the ground and kind of being the go-between in the campaign and the residents. Yeah, I thought that it would be a really good way of supporting a local initiative.
That's really admirable, Ethel. So you live in Red Hill. I think you mentioned that it's near to where the campaign will be piloted in Red Hill Close. Now, 21 vacant HDB blocks have been prepared for foreign workers to live. So not only do ambassadors like yourself live in communities that will house these workers, you will also try to debunk stereotypes and reframe narratives about foreign workers, as well as provide feedback on how locals are feeling. So how are you and the rest of the volunteers going about doing this?
Yes, that's right. So I would like to highlight that I'm only the first of hopefully many other ambassadors that will come on board. We're actually actively looking for more people to join our campaign and even expand into other neighborhoods like the Taman Jurong neighborhood if it's possible. And I'm actually in conversations with a couple of friends who have already stepped forward asking how they can help. These are friends who live in like the nearby vicinity. But as ambassadors, we'll have to find creative ways to seek the sentiments on the ground and to reach out to local communities, being mindful of the fact that the circuit breaker period limits the physical kind of movement on the ground. One thing that I'm really proud of is that we are already currently closely working with the grassroots leaders. So this afternoon, actually, I just got off a call with Mr. Fabian Ho, the Red Hill Community Director, and he's working closely with MP Sam, who is the MP of the Red Hill neighborhood. And he's actually really keen on aligning our messaging and efforts because the local grassroots have already started their own initiatives to reach out to migrant workers, and they have been very closely associated with moving the migrant workers into these temporary dorms. So he's already actually expressed a lot of gratitude that we are coming in to help and as volunteers because currently they are quite overstretched and there's a very small team on the ground doing this. So working with our local grassroots can help disseminate the information and campaign materials at a local level. And they have the connection with residents already who are reaching out to them to voice concerns and to voice safety, I guess, measurements that are already in place. So they are already able to help us reach out to residents who are the ones we are targeting specifically. So these are the ones that are concerned about migrant workers coming in and being like the spreader of like COVID amongst the local community. And this is something that we can work with them to debunk. Yeah, so another thing that we have in mind is we actually are in the midst of organizing our first kind of dialogue session that will be happening this weekend. This dialogue session will bring together residents, migrant worker support groups, and even medical professionals to have a conversation about health and safety. So we hope to directly address the concerns that residents have about migrant worker communities, like moving in and potentially, increasing the rate of infection in a community. Hopefully having healthcare professionals kind of lend their weight and their voice on this conference would help dissuade or persuade residents to be less worried. Yeah, so
Right.
that's something that
And Ethel, what challenges do you foresee? Because earlier on you mentioned about some of the things that you wanted to debunk, and what are the most prevalent narratives about foreign workers that you're hoping to debunk?
Right. So one of the primary concerns that Fabian did mention to me is the fact that residents think migrant workers are free to roam around the neighborhood without being kind of essentially limited in their interactions, and they are going around kind of transmitting the virus, which is not true. Migrant workers are unfortunately very much kind of limited in their physical mobility right now. They can only go out of the compound for their work purposes, and they are immediately ferried to and fro using transport vehicles. So that's actually not the case. Like, they're not kind of being like a spreader in the community. We also like to debunk the myth that foreign workers are in this position because they do not, practice good hygiene or good sanitation, and it's simply not the case. And we hope that residents can be a bit more empathetic and compassionate towards them during this period of time. And yeah, I think we would like to focus on common experiences that we all have during this period of time, pushing them towards like a feeling of abundance and wanting to help spread this community like welcoming spirit and help uplift other members of the community, which our migrant workers are a part of.
Right, absolutely. Well, like you mentioned, we are living in a very extraordinary time. We have common experiences within this period. But do you think this campaign will have lasting effects beyond the circuit breaker when our foreign workers go back to living in the dorms?
So I think this is a very interesting question, because perhaps something that we could question ourselves is, why do they have to go back to living in their dorms? If this is potentially a way of showing that residents can be welcoming to migrant workers living amongst us in our residential neighborhoods, it could be a way of reframing the entire way we view our interactions with them. And maybe it's a bold movement to show that living together, local or foreign, is possible. This is a movement that we hope will stay, and not just a campaign of the month of the circuit breaker. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's a fantastic way to end this. Thank you very much for your time, Ethel.
Thank you very much for having me.